Oh, I mean, I think that there's look, you can't watch the ad campaigns that are run by brands like Balenciaga and not think that they're involved in some very dark and nefarious stuff. I mean, it's part of their brand. My assumption is that the brands on some level are involved in this and no, but that's an assumption. I mean, also you're talking about businesses that really just kind of look at spreadsheets too. If you have a vodka that sells a lot, they're willing to overlook quite a lot of character flaws in order to keep that revenue stream going. So it's no different in the entertainment world as it is in professional sports. You could be a horrible human being on a baseball team, and if you're good enough, they will overlook a lot of your shortcomings. So I think that the corporate sponsors are always involved. I mean, I think they always have a say in some way, shape, or form. Now, how much involvement they had in some of the nefarious side of things, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's how you get the deal done, is that you get the head of one of these alcohol companies on camera doing something unspeakable. Next thing you know, you're signing a very lucrative partnership with that company. I mean, again, that's an assumption on my part. I'm not trying to say that any of them were involved, but again, it would stand to reason. I mean, it makes sense. That's how deals get done too.
So we've got a lot of questions come in on the YouTube community wall, and here's one from Consciousness Reality. How fearful should Jay-Z be about Diddy and vice versa? And do you know who or what they both should fear? I think what that person's getting at is like, might they start pointing fingers at each other? Because we just saw Jay-Z announce through his lawyers that he barely knew Diddy.
Well, so you're uniquely qualified to answer this question in terms of cooperating witnesses and people who you talk first get the best deal, right? That's what they say. So I don't know. Would they be willing to rat each other out? I mean, what's your level of loyalty? Are you Shaun Atwood loyal? Or are you somebody that says we don't talk? Or are you somebody that says, well, listen, man, I mean, I can't go to prison. Like, everybody knows who I am. This would be a catastrophe. I'd be dead in 5 minutes. I got to get out of here. I'll do whatever you want. I don't know. I don't know these guys. I don't know how much. I don't know what sort of level of survival skills they have, or integrity, or where their line in the sand is. But I mean, I think with anything like this, if they start stacking charges on you, whether you're Jay-Z or James Rodriguez, you're going to freak out when they show you what you're up against, and you're going to start having a change of heart in terms of what information you're willing to disclose. So I would assume that these people are willing to rat each other out, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, with prosecutors, usually it's a case of they want a bigger person, or if you can give them a number of people, because it's all about the scorecard. If you can give them a bigger person, that enhances their career. Mm-hmm. If you can give them a number of people, that enhances their career. There's quotas. These guys have got quotas, like the cops have got arrest quotas. So that's how it works. So we will see. All right, next question from Lam Whitty. Do you think the NFL uses its players for missions outside of preparing for a Super Bowl ring, e.g. Jamie Foxx's leaked video?
This is interesting. I spent 20 years, a little over 20 years ago, I'm co-owner of a company that does media training for professional athletes. So we get guys ready for the draft and interviews and public speaking and so forth. So we've spent a lot of time around the NFL and the NFL players as well. We know that there are questions about the halftime shows. There's always a bit of an occult component to it. I mean, it sort of passes over the normie viewer, and your weirdo friend is going to be like, did you see all the symbology and that thing? So we know that on some level there's compliance with this overriding agenda. And the NFL is in business with the American government, the American military as well. They're a partner with them on their Salute to Service ad campaign, which runs in the military pays the NFL tens of millions of dollars a year to do the Star Spangled Banner and the military flyovers and all that stuff is being paid for. So there's a huge propaganda component tied to the NFL. There always has been, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge football fan, but I'm watching two versions of it too. I'm watching the normie version, and I'm also seeing during the Super Bowl and things associated with it, this sort of esoteric component that most people sleep on or dismiss as being like, oh, you conspiracy theorists with your ideas. It's like, well, hang on a second here. Go watch the 2012 opening ceremonies of the Olympics. Go watch that and tell me you're not creeped out. You're like, what does this have to do with the Olympics? You know what I mean? So they do put this messaging out there. It is hidden only to the extent that people choose to not go looking for it. But once you're aware of it and you start to look at it through a different set of eyes, what you'll find is that it's there. It's always been there.
You've opened the door to occult questions now, Charlie. People are asking for, what do you mean occult at the NFL? Let's start with that one.
Well, they've always used it as predictive programming. They've used it as a during the messaging. I mean, you'll watch the dance, the way that the people are dressed. There's a lot of satanic imagery for some reason. People think that they want that. You obviously see that a lot at the MTV Music Awards, but over the years, there's been some questionable halftime shows, acts, people that are involved in it, and so you just the NFL isn't the worst offender of this. The Olympics are by far like the worst I've ever seen. It's terrifying to watch their ritual ceremonies. But the NFL, whenever you've got this many eyeballs on a particular event, the people that work in the energy realm, however you would talk about that, they say that there's something to that when there's a collective attention brought on a specific event or topic that's valuable to them, and so they try to use that and harness it and weaponize it and use it however they can. So it's something that sounds like very woo-woo and kind of like easy to dismiss, but unfortunately, the people who do this and really go down these topics, they'll tell you like it's a powerful messaging tool. It's a real important way to control the minds of the people. You get them in a hypnotic state, and you can deliver all sorts of messaging that way. And the NFL is no different from the Olympics.
Which ties into this question from Nikki about the 2024 opening ceremony in France. What was your take on that?
With the Last Supper, with the big fat, I think trans. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to disparage they them's gender. I don't know, but it was like a complete mockery. Of course, it rained, which was funny. The the Olympics were a bit of a mess for the French. I didn't get the real creeped out vibe that I did from the London games. I got more of this. It looked amateurish and kind of embarrassing on the part of the French. Whereas with the London 2012 games, I definitely got, this feels like a really scary acid trip with all of the big doctors in the beds and the children that were in the beds, and the big 70 feet tall doctors being the puppets going through, and you just watch that and you go, explain to me what this has to do with the 100-meter dash. Like, explain to me. Like, I don't get it. So it felt more like a CERN, like the opening of CERN or something, with the Goddard Tunnel. If you've ever watched the opening ceremonies for the Goddard Tunnel, you'll watch that and you go, what does this have to do about nuclear fusion? We're like, nothing. It's a satanic ritual. It has nothing to do with nuclear energy. It has to do with us summoning demons. Watch the show, dummy.
Judith wants to know, why is our government involved with the occult? Good question, Judith. Why indeed?
They always have been, and like Reagan took a lot of heat for using an astrologer, but that's a common practice. That's always been. It's not talked about a ton, but it's always been part of this, and I think again, it's easy to be dismissive of the occult, and occult just means hidden. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's evil. It could be evil, and a lot of their rituals are evil, but it also just means hidden. So there's hidden messages there. Some of it is just predictive programming. Some of it's just to get you to feel a certain way about things in the future. And it's so subtle that you barely even notice it. But of course, they role play these things with the Tavistock Institute, and they know us better than we know ourselves, and they know where our trigger points are. And if you don't think that that's the case, I mean, you could look at the coding of Facebook or Google. They know how you're going to behave, and they spend a lot of money to understand that. And of course, the government is going to be involved in anything that's going to give them access to more control. And if it's using some sort of occult component to it, there's no line in the sand that they won't cross. Of course, they would look into that. Hell, they were spending money researching remote viewing. Of course, they're going to spend money to try and figure out how to use mind control on all the slaves that are watching the Super Bowl, you know?